to move on. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
I'm the last one. We're almost there, almost to the march. You guys ready for it? All right. Thank you for having me here. I'm happy to be in Tustin. I love Tustin. I actually call it my second home. I'm from Irvine, but I have a business here in Tustin. Been here for 7 years, down the street. Thank you to the mayor for having us. Thank you for hosting this. Quick background on why I'm here. My parents were war refugees from Vietnam. They landed in Ohio in 1975. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. We started our lives in the projects. My mom worked 3 jobs, got us to the suburbs, which were actually the hood of the suburbs. And I grew up around immigrants, refugees, in a Slovakian village called Bergtown, surrounded by Polish, Romanians, Bulgarians. 25 years ago, I left Ohio, took my life savings of $200, grabbed a bus, and started a better life. And I landed ultimately here in Orange County. People ask why I'm here. They say, you look like a happy guy. You're content with life, James. You put yourself out there online. You put yourself out there on Instagram. Your kids' spaces, your business spaces. Are you worried? Are you worried that people will come after you? The only thing I'm scared of is regretting not doing something when I can. And that's now. I'm not one to hide in the shadow of hate. I'm not one to cower to racism. And I don't back down. I've been there and I've seen racism of all forms. I'm very content with life. One thing I promised myself was to always give back. Before the businesses, before the life I know, I came from poverty. I believe if you're in the position, you should fight back. I fought racism and hatred all my life. I've heard at least 1,000 slurs. Chink, kook, ching chong, ping pang, all those. Thousands of them. That I can even recall being beaten. Have you ever met somebody who was beat with a belt because they were Asian? Well, now you have. I've been beaten. People wrote on my face Chinese characters because they thought I was Chinese. Hundreds of incidents like that. Because where I grew up, it was either all white, 99.9% white, or it was 99.9% black. There was a couple Asians in there, a couple Indians, and we got the brunt of all the racism. I also made it in corporate America. I fought back and I made it in corporate America. I was one of the youngest directors of a large healthcare company in my 20s. Later in my 20s, I realized they will never bring an Asian CEO up. So I quit corporate America and I started my own company 20 years ago. One of the first many companies, and we're still going today. I made it through the racism and I made it through the system. I tell my story and my stories because it's important. I always say education is the key in this fight. We need to educate our children, we need to educate others, and we need to educate people on who we are. It builds an understanding, and if my story and my words can help someone, great. One story I want to talk about, and one thing I want to talk about is unity. Everyone says the word unity, but what does it mean? We say it all the time. It's risky and it's dangerous, and that's true, and that's the truth about it, because we don't know what we're going to get. I grew up in 3 childhoods: a biological family of refugees, suburban, a nuclear family, half adopted, raised by World War II vets that fought in Nazi Germany and defeated Nazi Germany. And that's going to lead to a story that I have that I want to share with you that was shared with me when I was a child. This is a story in Cleveland, Ohio in the 60s. When there was a lot of civil unrest, and there was actual war in the streets. The cops were killing black people were fighting back. 3 police officers were shot dead, and the Black Panthers were there. The Black Panthers came to my adopted family's church in the 60s, and it was an iconic church. It looked like It looked like Oxford, if you can imagine that. And they said, we're going to show you guys black power. We're going to come there, we're going to burn the place down, and we're going to come armed. And they did come armed. They gave a date, and they came. They came to the doors, and the doors weren't locked. The doors were open. The church had opened the doors and welcomed these Black Panthers, armed and all, into the church. And they said, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to experience and we want to know what you have to say. We invited these Black Panthers in, and they had the discussion. That's unity. And to this day, to this very day, those Black Panthers, their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren are part of that congregation now. That's unity. Unity is healing the divide that was created and moving forward. In order to achieve unity, we cannot place blame or point fingers. That's divide. There was such a misunderstanding of Stop Asian Hate from a lot of people in the county here. And I heard it from people that I knew. They said, why are you saying Stop Asian Hate? You should be saying Stop All Hate. Of course it's Stop All Hate. No one is saying Stop Asian Hate only. For someone to say you shouldn't say that is wrong. Because of course, who doesn't want to stop all hate? It was to the point where last week I had to put on a rally with some others just to prove to people that we weren't pandering. We're not crybabies, and I had to prove to them that, hey, all lives matter, stop all hate, it all matters, but we want to shine a light on the issues that are happening to us right now.
Yes.
And those who say, and I've heard this online, I've heard this from people, that it's all blacks that are committing the crimes toward Asians. No black person wakes up and says, I want to go hunting Asians, do they? It's crime and criminals. Crime of opportunity to a certain demographic, and that's Asians. It's mental issues, and it's ignorance. No white person wakes up and says, I want to be a white supremacist today, and I want to oppress Asians and crush their souls. America is racist by default. It's biased, it's racist. There's white privilege, of course. Where there's a majority, there will be a racism. We need to hold criminals who commit violent crimes accountable, no matter what color. We need to get people the mental health, regardless of what color or class. And we need to crush ignorance when we see it and send a message we won't tolerate it. We're all Americans, Americans with our own identity, but we need to start thinking united as a people. We need to stop attacking those who want to help us, and we need to stop alienating entire demographics by saying blacks are bad or saying whites are white supremacists, even if you believe it's true. It's dividing and it's racist, even if it's unintended. We need to start thinking strategically. The real white supremacist isn't in the street. The real white supremacist isn't the one who's yelling at you. The real white supremacist is the one who's smiling at you, the one who's shaking your hands, the one that's in the corporate office saying, don't hire minorities. That is the real white supremacist.
Yes.
The one that's on the street calling you names, that's just ignorance. Have you ever met a white supremacist? A real white supremacist? I have. And they're in suits, and they're going to shake their hands, and they're going to smile at you. Remember that. The real enemy is smiling at you. I've known some white people that have been alienated, and I'm going to talk about one right now. Her name's Julie. She does these Lego toys, and she posts them online. Usually it's Game of Thrones or whatever. A couple months ago, she started doing these Lego toys that said AWA on them, or Stop Asian Hate, which is great. She wanted to bring awareness to the issue that we have here. It was all good, but then people found out she was white. So they started attacking her online, saying, you can't do that. You can't support Asians because you don't understand Asians. We need to stop stuff like that. This woman's married to a Chinese person. She's doing it because she wants a family in the future, and she's caring about her children, her future children. We got to stop alienating those people. One more story about Huntington Beach, because it just happened here. It's still fresh in our minds here, Huntington Beach. White supremacists put on a rally. And I'm telling you, white supremacists did put on that rally, but they didn't have the intention to attend that rally. They put on that rally to get a knee-jerk reaction from us, for us to go there and to face off with people who support us. They're strategic, they're tactical, and we have to think about that when we do these things. Sure, we'll go out there and fight against it, but don't just randomly go to any white person and say, prove to me you're not a white supremacist. Because there's a lot of people that support us, and we need that support out there. One couple that was there was a doctor and her husband, who was a civil rights lawyer. They came down on Main Street, and they wanted to support Stop Asian Hate, and they wanted to fight against these white supremacists. But when they arrived, they got chased off, because people started saying, hey, we're here for the rally, you're right. But stuff like that we got to stop, okay? Please do that. Please think about that when you're going after these people. Racists love it when you say white supremacy, because they can hide in plain sight. It devalues the impact. And you can't really truly identify white supremacists, the ones who smile at you. You can't identify them. Also, it says, look at those Asians saying that. Don't help those minorities, they're all racist. These blanket statements are ones that get us in trouble and are counterproductive. I'm 100% with you that America's racist, and we are in a white-dominated society. But we must avoid being racist ourselves. We are fighting racism. We're not fighting oppression. When you mix the two, it gets lost. Regardless of who's coming at us, we must defend ourselves. These are criminals that are coming for us because they view Asians as the weakest link and easy targets. We need to change that perception. When someone calls you a name, fight back. I've never allowed anyone to be racist to me when I grew up. I don't allow it now. When I was young, I'm pretty old now, I fight back one-on-one, entire groups, entire schools. I got kicked out for fighting. I fired back anytime someone came at me. I can talk about this all day, but the time for talk is over. We need direct action, not physical, if you can't, but in your own way. If someone calls you a name, don't internalize it. Don't go home and cry. Confront them right away so they'll think about it next time. I work with a team of social media influencers out there and activists who I call unsung heroes. These guys prevented fraud. These guys prevented attacks. They exposed people. They exposed fraud on GoFundMe. If you guys aren't aware, in Long Beach, there was fraud, $100,000 fraud, because a guy said that I was defending Asians. He posted a picture of him getting beat up, but it was all fraud. People donated $100,000. These guys got it refunded to everyone. Nice. And these guys, I want to give a quick shout out to these guys. Jay, Matt, Jason, Asian Storm, Asian Rise, Asian Culture, Asian Entertainment, Chino, Next Generation, Rooftop Asian, SF Streets, David, Jackfruit, all for doing their part of the battle. Asians are not weak. We know how to fight. We fought for centuries. We know how to fight invaders. We know how to overcome. We even fought each other. And speaking of that, all bad blood we have between each other, Filipino, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Laos, whoever, put it aside. America views us as all Asians. They don't view us independently. They can't even tell us apart sometimes. So stand united and fight. On that note, I want to announce I'm launching a nonprofit called AAPI United. United we stand, united we fight. A coalition of AAPI, community influencers, business leaders, and grassroots activists united against hate. I'm pretty long-winded here, guys. And I apologize about that. I'm wrapping it up, I promise. So I want to do something right now, and I know you guys, some of you guys are filming this. And if you aren't, please film this for your friends, your family, or whoever. This right now is a moment in history. So I want you to look around. I want you to remember me. I want you to look at the people around you, the people next to you. This is a smaller rally, but we're living history in the moment. It's a rare moment in time where what you do today will affect those generations to come. What you do today will affect your children. And how do you want to be remembered in the book of history? As an observer or someone who took action? One day you'll tell the story to your children. And it can be, I remember the time I saw this happening to Asians. It was horrible. I lived through that. Or it could be, I remember when a virus hit America and people blamed Asians and started attacking us. I was out there marching. I was out there fighting. I was out there raising awareness and smashed those racists. Is that who you want to be remembered as? So will you stand with me to fight for our people? Will you stand with me to fight for your heritage? Will you stand with me to fight for your honor? And will you stand with me to fight for your pride? You've taken the first steps to make this a better place for us all. Thank you very much.